Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dagger, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Ruud Janssen. He is a Switzerland-based entrepreneur that has been an innovator and game changer in the hospitality and meetings and event industry since 1994. You're showing your age there a little bit, Ruud. He is a founder of EventCanvas.org Foundation and Event Model Generation, an event design consulting and training firm aimed at creating a common language for meetings and events. Ruud, thanks for joining me and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Joe, for this initiative. I truly appreciate it.
When I use this canvas, it helps me document, kind of can use it to turn it into standard work for others and maybe spend time to improve events later, similar type events. This worked, this didn't work, right? I mean, it's a great tool to document things with.
Absolutely. So, Joe, I'm glad you sliced that in, because if you look at the case studies and if you look at the gallery that we built, and we've built this under Creative Commons license, so everybody can use this when using it non-commercially. So we encourage people to download it. It's now been translated into 8 languages already, so you can do this in Russian and in Mandarin Chinese. And today we're actually launching the Suomi version in Finnish. But basically, we try to use visual language. So visual thinking is very powerful when we translate the event narrative, which is the outcome of the design process, into a visual. It actually creates a compass for those that are, organizing that event, or those that are looking to talk about the event, to market its promise. They actually have a visual that they can refer to. And let me just pull up an example here from the book. So, here's an example where you can see the risk managers, balancing themselves on a red thread from entry to exit behavior, others looking to catch their risk. And there's a very visual picture about the dynamic of how the value is being built at that event. And that picture allows anyone to articulate how that event created value, because they now understand the flow of the story and can interpret what it means for the risk manager, for the insurer, or for the federation that owns the event, right? So to bring it back to what you said, it's a good way to document existing events. Absolutely, right? So sometimes people find it hard to think about their future event because they've got all these thoughts about their past events, right? Or maybe it's a new event. They don't have a history. But let's pretend there is a history. Let me take an example of a recent work we've done with the United Nations here in Geneva. An event that was around for 15 years, had developed, and it's almost becoming a 15-year-old teenager. I developed, we kind of drew a parallel between a person turning 15 and the event turning 15, and then wondering where the event is going in 2020, right? And so one of the exercises we did is we documented the very first past events, because everybody has a very solid knowledge about who were the stakeholders, what was their entry-exit behaviors. You usually have documents like photos or interviews or statements from people that you can use to actually validate what happened at the past event. And so it's very easy to map out a past event based, if you have the people in the room that were part of it. Then we took and we looked at, let's say, where does this event want to go in line with the organization's goals for 2020? And we thought up the 2020 version of that same event if the organization was going to be successful at delivering where it's going, right? And so you map out that future event. And actually, when we had the gap between 2015 and 2020, we could backcast. If we need to get from here to here in 5 steps, what are the increments of change that we have to do over these next 5 events to get from 2015 to 2020, right? So now all of a sudden, all the hurdles you saw when looking from 2015 to 2016, oh, this is difficult, we can't change this, we've always done it like this for 15 years, all those motivations that you usually hear event teams say, you can blow those out of the water by looking at it big picture, zooming out, I compare it to the Google Maps zooming function. You go to Google Earth, you kind of look out, and you look at the 20-year stretch. And then you look at what does that mean, and you take out the essence of behavior change. And that's the power of simplifying things using a canvas. Now, I'm not saying the canvas is simple, because it took us about a year to come up with the one piece of paper, right? So after the session with the guys in Thun in Switzerland, and after our thinking that Roel and I have been doing, we did a couple of incubators and got people involved that are event specialists from different fields, and they shot it to pieces, and then we picked up the pieces and we reassembled and we rethought, And it took us a year to get to this one piece of paper. So yeah, simplicity is nice, but it takes some time to get there.
You know, one of the things that appeals to me about it is that it's a nice visual display for practically, as you mentioned, any type of event. You know, and I think of the lean world, we think of Kaizen events and value stream mapping where we have current state and future events. But we got to prepare for those meetings, okay? And it's nice to have some structure around meetings. You know, any project management knows that, you know, it's the reflection at the end of the process that improves your project management, okay? Because if you just keep doing the projects the same way, the same process,
you can expect different results, right?
Right. And can I do this online? And do you offer a platform that I can use online to accomplish this?
Yeah. So one of the things that we noticed that, you know, if you can't do it on paper, you could probably not even do it online, right? So we always recommend to start off with paper and, you know, real life use of it, which is the reason why a lot of the tools that we've developed are first on paper. We very often work with a group, you know, against the wall and in an office, and we've got walls all over the place. And what we've done is actually, you know, we with many teams that we work with are distributed teams. And work carries on when we're not in the same room. So how do you take those assets and bring them online and then collaborate? And this is where we've developed templates that are usable on a platform that we collaborate with called Mural. With them, we've actually, you know, designed a number of templates that you can use as a team. And just the way, you know, you, Joe, are based in the US and I'm based in Switzerland, we could actually sit here and share our screen and see each other working with post-its and links and videos and drops into that, and have a focused conversation using, you know, a video conferencing system like this, where you can use all sorts of collaborative techniques to you know, put the designs online, to evolve them over time, and to replicate them when you're doing future events, you know, same versions of the same of a future event. And let me give you an example. So most indicative projects of this is a project we did for the Internet Society, which is a community that was started by Vince Cerf and Bob Kahn to look after the internet, make sure it keeps functioning. And these people are celebrating their 25th anniversary next year. And, you know, 3 years ago, they got a new CEO, and she said, well, this organization doesn't have its own event, yet we meet at all these events that others are hosting, and we run into our communities. So I want to bring these societies together from different countries that are part of our community and host an event for the internet on the internet. And when we designed that event from scratch, we had about 6 months with a team of 9. She encouraged everybody in the organization to become part of the design process, which to us was like, oh my God, you know, 90 people involved in the event design. That's a lot of people, right? And it was fun. When we did the stakeholder analysis, which usually takes quite a bit of time, we were working in parallel, you know, we had 7 or 8 people in Geneva, 7 or 8 people in Reston in Virginia. We had people in Uruguay and in Singapore who were all working in parallel using the same methodology, reporting back out in little video snippets, which were then parked back on that platform. And we could look at each other's outcomes of the stakeholder analysis prior to assembling the event design. So the prototyping and the designing was happening in real life in 5 places at the same time. The outputs were aggregated online. The designs were put there. And over a period of, you know, I think probably 2.5 months, we went from initial idea to the prototype that we wanted to execute. And people had time to input and reflect and look at it in their own time zone. And, you know, that to me is kind of the future of collaboration, of blending live design with online design, providing you have clarity about the process and how you're doing things. What ultimately comes out is the product of the great minds of people that are involved in it, right? All we do is frame a process around it that allows you to be successful at designing it.
I could go on and on. Love the material. Okay, enjoy it tremendously. Tell someone where they can go to learn more, connect up with you, find the book.
Excellent. So it's very simple. EventCanvas.org is where you will find everything. There's a gallery of event designs as examples. You'll see the book there that you can download the first 100 pages for free. And you can also order the book if you like those first 100 pages. The book comes with a whole batch of online resources that you can use as well with your team that you can print out, you know, different posters and additional materials. diagnostic tools. We deliver training, so you'll find that on the site as well. There's a certificate in event design program we do as an in-company or at universities like the University of Amsterdam or San Diego State University. We speak and engage with teams in both open trainings and in company things across the world. So you'll see a listing there of where we're hanging out. And if we're in your neck of the woods, give us a shout. Or if we're not, then bring us over or reach out to us online. It's either Rolf Frisse, Dennis Laier, or myself, Ruud Janssen. Reach any of the three of us. We're a very small, agile group of people.
This podcast will be available in the Business Design 101 iTunes Store and the Business Design 101 blog site. And I encourage you to take a look at the EventCanvas. Okay, thank you very much, Ruud.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.